In mindfulness meditation, we do two things. First, we try to keep the attention fairly well attuned to something actually happening that's relatively neutral. So I'll guide you in this in a few minutes. The sensations connected with the breath are pretty good for this. The sensations in the feet. The idea is something relatively neutral. We focus the attention, sustain the attention for a while. The mind naturally becomes calmer, more clear, more stable. So we don't have to get calm first. All right. We don't have to stop thinking or do anything like that. The sign outside says, "Come as you are." It's true. We let the mind be as it is. We don't have to conjure up some special uptight state. But we do make some effort, and you'll see it takes a little bit of effort. So we try to keep the attention focused and sustained with something relatively simple and neutral, like the feel of the breath. And of course, the purpose for doing this is it works to cultivate calmness, peace, clarity, and so forth. Secondly, as we try to do this, if you've done it before, you know, the attention won't stay there. So try as we might to stay with the breath or the feet, the attention will get pulled away quite naturally, and there's nothing wrong with this. It's the nature of the mind. And so we'll, at some point, realize, oh, yeah, I'm daydreaming, I'm planning. At that point, we just give attention to what's actually happening. And so in this context, we have this sort of radical permission to notice what's going on, and there may be emotion. There may be emotion that's there to be felt that in our ordinary activities we actually don't have time or the opportunity to feel into. And this is where a meditation practice can be awesome, where we give ourselves some time and space to actually notice what it's like to be angry or stressed or joyous and so forth. So both parts of this are part of mindfulness practice and will vary on where we give the emphasis depending on the state of our minds and bodies right now. So if, for instance, you have a lot of pain in your body, it may draw your attention. You try to stay with the breath. The pain may call your attention. And in mindfulness practice, we actually yield to that call, bring attention into the painful area, notice what's actually going on there, maybe just for a second or two, and then come back to the breath. So there's a gentle back and forth. And it's hard to do it wrong. Where we can go wrong is just kind of letting the mind float, sort of on automatic pilot. So we actually want to make a little bit of effort to make the connection with the breath, or to actually notice a little more fully what's happening with the ordinary thoughts and emotions when we're drawn there. So I know that normally if you're a regular here on Thursdays, you normally don't stand up. So when I come, I like to shake things up a little. So if you would, please stand up. So we won't stay in this posture very long, and actually if it is painful for you, if you have a sprained ankle or for some reason it's painful, feel free to sit at any time. But this actually is an awesome posture for practicing mindfulness meditation. And what we do to begin is simply notice the sensations in the feet, how you know that you have feet right now without looking. So just the sensation of pressure, heaviness, softness, vibration, motion. This is an example of a neutral home base for the attention. It would be sort of crazy to do this if it didn't have good effects. And the effects are calmness, clarity, peace, just the focusing, sustaining the attention. It's not that the sensations are magical in some way, it's this mental activity, connecting, sustaining the attention. You might shift your body a little bit, left and right, if that's comfortable. So as I said, we don't normally do a lot of standing as a group. It gets fairly intense quickly. If you do find this congenial, though, feel free to remain standing. It's fine to remain standing the entire period if it's making sense, if your body's relaxed. It can be a great posture for getting that balance of relaxation, alertness. But if you wish, sitting down again, and we'll continue. So whether sitting or standing, I would invite you first just to bring to mind something you're grateful for right now. So right in the midst of whatever thoughts, emotions, physical sensations are happening, just shifting the attention to this theme. What is something I'm grateful for? Just seeing what comes to mind. Now, I would invite you to open your attention to the sounds that you can hear. So there may be a few sounds filtering in from outside the room. There's my voice, various sounds we make. So just opening the attention, notice it's fairly easy. We don't have to conjure up special sounds. We don't have to prevent anything. Just noticing what comes to mind in this part of our experience. Now, bringing the same relaxed attention into your body. Just noticing what you can feel in your body, feet, legs, torso, shoulders, head, arms, hands. Just the feel of your body, how you know you have a body right now. Vibration, pressure, and so forth. Then I would invite you to focus a little more. If you're sitting, on the feel of the breath. If you're still standing, you can come back to the feet as your focus, if you wish. So whether we're focusing on the feet or the breath, we're just tuning into physical sensations, how we know we're breathing, tuning into the abdomen or the chest or the opening of the nostrils. Of course, the idea is just focusing the attention, sustaining it in this simple way. The mind naturally calms down. We don't have to make ourselves calm. We don't have to stop anything. Just this gentle, patient willingness to connect this breath, these sensations. And then for all of us, there will be those moments where we realize that try as we might to do this, the attention has been pulled away. So we've been sort of pulled into this cloud of thinking, planning, wondering about something. So it's very normal. It's the nature of the mind. So in that moment of recognition, just give it some attention. Thinking, planning. Often there will be emotion. See if you can feel that emotion in the body. And then reconnect with your home base again. The feet, the breath, or somewhere else. So I'll be silent for a few minutes and we can practice together. So we don't need to evaluate what's happening or how well we're doing. These types of thoughts are very normal. So if you notice you're drawn into those thoughts, just recognize thinking. These are thoughts. You can practice just noticing them as thoughts without getting so caught up. We don't have to squelch them, get rid of them. Just notice thinking and then reconnect with the home base again, the feet, the breath. And for the last few minutes of our session, I would invite you to shift, if you want, to a kindness practice, where we simply bring to mind a person or an animal, and we find it really easy to appreciate. So it could be anyone. Just letting this person or animal come to mind. You might visualize them in a place that they would enjoy being or doing something they enjoy, or just have a sense of what it's like for you when you see them. You might notice something you like about them. So here we let the home base be this thought of this person, this animal, kind of focusing on their goodness. So we don't pretend, we're not sugarcoating, we're not imagining them as perfect, but we are recognizing the reality, their goodness, letting that appreciation have its effect in us. You might use a few thoughts to wish them well. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be safe. Repeating them, not too quickly. If you're not trying to do this, don't push. Just stay with the breath, stay with what we were doing before. Maybe just enter in a little bit. As we do this, we're not trying to pretend we feel a certain way, but the activity itself can open us to a felt sense of warmth, kindness, love. So if that happens, just feel it. That's part of this practice, just feeling the positive emotion. The physical component there also, often in the torso. So we'll take one more minute for this period, and then I'll ring a bell simply to end the session. So thank you. It's good to practice with you. Brief overview of what we did. 3 things, speaking generally. first finding somewhere in our actual experience to focus on, to use as a home base. For many of us, most of us, maybe the breath is going to be good, just the feel of the breath somewhere. Sensations in the feet or the hands, the ambient sounds. Doesn't matter too much where, but there's this quality of neutrality. So the sensations in these areas tend not to be very pleasant or painful. For that very reason, we're not tending to notice them, which is fine. But it turns out that as human beings, this mental activity of focusing and sustaining with the neutral for a while cultivates calmness, peace, clarity, concentration. So without controlling the world, without controlling our minds that much, we actually have this capacity to cultivate calmness. We don't have to make it happen. It's actually easier. It's still not easy, but it's easier. We just spend some time, and this is something that can be practiced. As we get better at it, as we develop the skill, it actually does not become more complicated. We actually just get better at doing it and then have more confidence in doing it. Secondly, as we try to do it, as you no doubt noticed, we're asking ourselves to do something very weird, right? To just stay with the sensations in the feet or the breath. And quite naturally, the mind will drift away. It's like, okay, a minute would be about enough, right? And so I did it for a minute. Now, what's for lunch? Or where is my car? Or whatever. Or is my car okay, actually? So our minds naturally just go to what's more pressing and so forth. And so in mindfulness practice, when we realize we've been pulled away, just recognize the type of thing happening, thinking, planning, and so forth. Often there is emotion fueling these thoughts or getting triggered by the thoughts. So we practice opening to the felt sense of the emotion, not just the story, but the visceral feel of it. And this can take some practice. And it can be very rewarding, actually, in becoming more intelligent with our emotions. And again, it's radically simple, just opening to the feel of it. And the great thing about a meditation practice, as I said before, is we have an opportunity to actually feel, to open to it without worrying about, being civilized and keeping our emotions in check as a civilized, socialized human being. Whereas so often in ordinary life, we have to actually keep emotions in check one way or another just to get through the day. And so it can be really important to have this space just to feel it and so forth. And then in our practice, we come back to the home base. So it's gently back and forth. And then we began with a few moments of gratitude, ended with the kindness practice. These are examples of cultivating positive emotions, somewhat different from the basic mindfulness, but they go together really well. They're always an option when we practice. So I just taught you everything I know. It's partly a joke, partly the truth. It's like what we're doing here is so simple that it can be conveyed simply. And of course, it's not just the information, it's actually finding ways to practice it and so forth.